Hello, everybody. We're here on a
Hello.
Wednesday stream. How are you doing, Sitch?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jeremy? Oh,
I'm doing.
did I just fuck up?
Oh, doxed. I can't believe that right in the
Who's
beginning.
Jeremy? I don't know
JayMac, how are you
Jeremy.
doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing good.
And I can't remember your friend's name.
It's right there on the
I'm
screen.
Drew.
Hey, what's up, Drew? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
So we're here to talk about JayMac's game, The Chronicles of Myth. Now I started reading the core rule book when we began, and I got to the introduction. I realized, oh my god, this is 190 pages. So I didn't actually read the entire rule book, but um, what do you want to tell us about the game, JMac?
Well, I think it'd be a great starting place, and you correct me if I'm wrong, to kind of talk about the starting point of when we came up with the idea and why. You
Okay.
know? Uh, so you guys both know I am a super nerd when it comes to tabletop stuff. We did
Yes, it's
the
true.
stream
We've
on the media channel. We had a blast with it. We did 3 1 shots, a single one shot,
three one
three
shots.
sessions of a one shot. Yeah, and we had a blast doing it. I
We
really
have
enjoyed
Dev
it.
and Rags joining us, and
Yeah,
Dev was a terror. He decided to light everything on fire and get us in as much trouble as humanly possible.
well, you always have one player like that at least, so it's almost a staple or a trope at this point. But I've been doing and playing tabletop games, pen and paper, to some degree since high school. And I think a lot of people kind of have similar experiences where you go through the different stages of involvement. So I played a lot in high school and a little bit in college, and not so much when I joined the military. And then towards the later half of my military time, I got more into it again. And over the years of doing D&D specifically, but also like Pathfinder, Starfinder, Fantasy Flight, I put so much work into every campaign or whatever we were doing. And I remember one time, a good buddy of mine who frequently either was a player or one of our DMs, he says to me, he goes, "Why the hell are you doing all this work for this game?" He said, "Why don't you just make your own game?" And I remember that was kind of like the catalyst idea or statement. I was like, well, shit,
Yeah.
why don't I make my own game? So, worst decision of my life, but it started where we're at here now. And it was also kind of a culmination of just seeing the direction a lot of the big tabletop games were going. D&D specifically, I started playing back in 3.5 or third edition, and obviously everyone knows kind of the progression of how things went. And it just wasn't something that really resonated with me. A lot of the rule sets or the lore or just the direction wasn't really hitting the spots for me anymore. So this was just kind of my way of saying, okay, well, what do I want to see in the game? Let's just make one and do it.
Yeah, that's great. So you're devoting a lot of time and energy to other people's game world, and you thought, instead of using my creativity on their universe, I'm going to build my own universe and use my creativity there.
Yeah,
What
100%.
which is pretty cool. Definitely pretty cool. So I guess the goal with the game is really to get players, right? To get people excited about playing the thing.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, you're making a product just because you want to. I mean, there's only so far you can go with, hey, I made this game for myself to play. Like, you actually want to get it out into the hands of people because you believe in it, you think it's good, and of course we do with our game. And so our goal is to inevitably get to a point where we can start our crowdfunding and get it out. I mean, we've done a lot of internal testing. We've done mostly like friends and family, but also just strangers who I've met through either conventions, or I know Sitch, you and I, we played back I think last year
We
at
did. It was
yeah,
great.
yeah, we had a lot of fun doing it. Your friend and Sammy, we all met up and played, so we had a good time doing it
In person.
in person. Yes, we were actually rolling dice, so that we meant business.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
can we play this game over the internet once it launches? I think that might be a good way to really get people interested in it.
Oh yeah.
yeah, Drew's actually been looking. There's what's that program that you were looking at? Is it Owl Scribe or
Owl Bear Rodeo, I think it was called. We could probably also do it on Roll20. It's a very easy program to get into. And really all of our stuff is just like the other tabletop RPGs. You just plug in the information and play as is. You can use even other games tokens if you want. Things like that is pretty easy. to get used to. And Owlbear, actually, you can make custom tokens. So you can actually like put our little tokens in the website.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And with the way that the internet has exploded with tabletop gaming, it's easier now than ever. In fact, I've played online before, but I never DM'd. And our stream that we did was the first time I DM'd using something like Roll20. And you guys remember at the beginning of it, I was a mess. I didn't know how to do anything. Things were appearing, not appearing. But then towards the end of it, it's so intuitive. Like I had a pretty good handle on it. And so I think with our game system, it can slot pretty easily because they have a lot of different systems in their website that can facilitate a myriad of different games.
So you mentioned crowdfunding. I have some experience with crowdfunding. Obviously, we crowdfunded the comic. So what is the goal of the crowdfunding campaign?
So when we actually get to a point where we're going to launch, which is going to be happening very soon. In fact, our timeline right now is in April of next year because we'll be going to a convention in Minneapolis called DaveCon. We actually went earlier this year to do our first public play test of the game. Went really well. We had a lot of good feedback there. I met a lot of other creators, indie and professional, which was awesome, wealth of information. But our goal is to, by the next DaveCon, which is in April again next year, is to launch a crowdfunding campaign to drum up the interest. And fortunately, like we want to sell this as a product to people, but ultimately, like my goal is to get it in the hands of as many people as possible who want to play it. So, we'll offer incentives of like, hey, if you back now, you can get a PDF of both the rule book and the Chronicle Archives, which is basically our bestiary, and just get that out to people so they can just start playing it. And that's the ultimate goal, really, at the end of the day. Is I love the game we're making so much. I want other people to play it too.
Right. So the goal of the crowdfunding campaign is not really funding as much as it's to drum up interest in it. Is that what you're saying?
Marketing is a huge ass. I mean, the market is somewhat saturated. If you can go on like Indiegogo or Kickstarter right now, and if you search tabletop RPGs, it's just a list. It's just a litany of games out there, which is a good thing. You want there to be competition, but mostly what we want to showcase, especially when we get this into the hands of the public, is that our game stands out and there's a reason why. And I think that's going to become apparent when people actually get to, crack open the book or look through the PDF, see the artwork, see the creatures, see, how our system works, and just get to play the damn thing.
Yeah, if you had a successful crowdfunding campaign, I know it would get eyes on it, obviously, because anyone's interested in something that's making money.
Yeah,
that's like universal.
And Drew and I have a background in 3D printing and stuff, so we're going to have a lot of different stretch goals, and we kind of weighed options of like limited edition minis, things like that. Additives that will also are like kind of like how you guys did alternate covers for the comics. Yeah. Just things that people who either really just love tabletop RPGs or see our game and are really just resonated with them can kind of go the extra mile to get those extra collectibles.
Oh, okay, interesting. So you're going to sell collectibles with the crowdfunding campaign.
I'm going to be honest with you, Adam. I have the way my brain works. And again, this is just maybe a little bit of hubris, but I've already got plans for going way farther beyond what we have now. Obviously, we want to get to the point where we just launched the game, but right. I've got ideas in the works for like a companion app where, our game is a tabletop RPG similar to things like Pathfinder and Dungeons and Dragons, but it centralizes around this list of magical creatures. Very similar to things like Pokemon or Digimon or Shinigami Tensei, things like that. And so that's a huge draw for the game is these creatures. And so I'm looking at possibly doing like a companion app that works similar to, I don't know, like a Pokedex, but for us, it would be the Chronicle Archives, where you can pull up the creature. It will have basically its spells it can do, its stats, cool animations or art for it as well. So we got a lot of plans.
Yeah, the creatures are really what got me hooked on Dungeons and Dragons, and were what got me interested in drawing and becoming an artist. I mean, really, a lot of that stuff was very inspirational when I was a kid.
Yeah, I am literally word for word the exact same as far as like I'd buy a new game, I'd crack open the game manual and see the art in there.
Yeah,
and it would push me. I remember the Super Nintendo had all the cute little baby Yoshis, and that just little baby JayMac just was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I want to create things like this. And so I create my own Yoshis or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes
Same
I put
thing.
on anime and just draw because the anime is so inspirational as well. So
Oh yeah. Well, Pokemon. Just to bring it back to that. I'm a huge Pokemon fan growing up. In fact, probably when Pokemon came out, I was probably a little too old for it, but it didn't stop me from loving it and enjoying it. In fact, and actually, I think I've told you guys about the sixth grade, the girl who asked me if I liked Pokemon, and I hesitated and was like, you know what, I'm gonna be honest, and she'll really
I'm
respect me.
gonna tell her the
And
truth.
Yeah, I told her.
I
the truth, but
love
she didn't talk to me.
Pokemon.
She didn't talk to me for the rest of the year, so that was my.
Oh,
Oh, that's
I
her
got,
terrible.
loss.
I got shunned. But hey, you know what? Who's laughing now, right?
Exactly.
So what you mentioned Dave Con. For those who might not know, what is Dave Con?
Dave Con it's a smaller convention in Minneapolis that it's basically, it centralizes around a lot of the, I guess we'd call them like the patriarchs, or like the founders of the tabletop RPG scene, but it's also on a smaller scale. So you have like these legends there, like you have like Dave McGeary, who is just a phenomenal man. You have people like David Wesley. He's like I mean, you guys don't know these terms, but he's credited as the founding father of Bronstein, which is super popular right now in like the tabletop space. Just different, avenues of play or different TTRPGs. And what was really cool about it is there's a lot of people that are going there that are like us, who are in the middle of creating their own games. And so we get to talk to all these different people who are at different stages of their own development. There's these one guys, they had a game called Mythcraft, which, yes, I know it sounds very similar to ours, but it's very different. But they had the coveted hall table. So they actually had this massive table with all this merch, and they had games running constantly. And then they even had a tournament on one of the nights. I think it was Saturday night. And it was just a lot of fun. And, their system works kind of similar to Dungeons and Dragons, but they had a lot of different nuances here and there. But the event organizer, him and I have talked a lot of times. He's a hilarious guy, really kind of old school gamer guy. And Wes and I spoke with him, and I guess we just resonated. And so he actually offered to get us a table, an actual game table this next year, if we can get basically to a certain point of launch, which is what we're gearing up for. Basically right after this stream, we're going to be working on that.
So
By the way, he might call me Wes on occasion.
Yeah, Wes and Drew, they're the same. He's got two personalities, two names, one body. So
okay. JayMac doesn't have two names at all.
Just make sure we clarify.
now that I fucked up and said a name that may or may not be your name,
that's
JayMac.
fine. It's perfectly fine.
Well, I'm curious because I had this same dilemma. Everyone online knows me as Adam Friended. Look, I haven't been secret. My real name is Adam Strange. I'm an artist, so I wasn't going to spend 3 years working on a comic and not put my real name on it. Jesus fucking Christ. I want
an alias.
Yeah, exactly. I have people who've been buying my paintings my entire life. And I just think, wow, that would really be fucking those people over because they've invested in me as an artist. And all of a sudden I'm going to put this thing out without even using my real name on it. So
what's funny is your last name is already kind of eclectic. So it's like, that could very well be an alias. Is like Strange. Oh, Doctor Strange over. Like it's like the Spider-Man. Like, oh, we're using our superhero names. Got it.
Yeah. People always say that, and I always have to tell them, well, no, Adam Strange is a different character. Doctor Strange is actually Stephen Strange. So
yeah,
but 100%. But yeah. So are you? I mean, are you planning on using your real name? Or are you going to use an alias, or
no?
You're going to come out of the closet?
Yeah, 100%. When we launch the game, I'll definitely be, who I am. I'm not super private as far as socials are concerned. For better or worse, that's just kind of the avenue I've chosen. And there's pros and cons to both, obviously. But I do feel confident. Now, the big issue that I've kind of tiptoed around is because some of my presence has been somewhat, I mean, you guys know your show deals with politics and culture and things like that. And so it's not entirely a secret on some of my opinions on things as far as those topics are concerned. And I have had an extremely strong stance, and Drew will back me on this. We both have agreed when we first came up with this concept that we don't want our game to have any kind of political stint involved. Like, we're not a team blue or team red game. This is purely escapism. This is purely a rule set to facilitate players. They can play whatever game they want. One of the biggest issues I've had with a lot of the tabletop scene is it seems like the developers are forcing their players to choose a side, a team. And it's like, look, I'm playing these games because I don't want to deal with that right now. Right. Like I don't want to go through the motions of trying to argue a certain political perspective. I want to go and fight a bunch of bandits and get some gold. And
the Tell Us Up isn't dealing with the legacy of slavery.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you can facilitate really interesting ideological conversations or political conversations through a game, but the purpose of the game isn't always to do that. Right. That's what I think the strength of a tabletop game is that whatever story I want to tell as the DM/GM, I can tell. And I don't want to make our game strictly for one perspective. You can take our system and you can run it any way you want. That's the beauty of it.
Right. Okay, cool. So do you want to dive a little bit into the game and kind of give the background? I've read the introduction, so I kind of understand, but there's some really cool aspects to it that we can talk about.
Yeah. And any questions you guys have, or if chat has any questions, like you all know I love the sound of my own voice. So you ask away. I will not be shy from anything, and especially the hardball ones. Like I really want, that's one of the reasons we want to get out there and talk to people, is because a lot of times when you're developing something, you don't always see all the details until someone else comes along and says, hey, what about this? And then your brain goes, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. So please don't be shy with the questions
crowdsourcing feedback is one of the great things about the internet, and it really allows you to grow as an artist. If you could take feedback, a lot of people unfortunately can't take feedback at all.
That's the thing. That's the thing, is a lot of it is you have to have the temperament to deal with it. And growing up in the early days of the internet, I feel like I have been hardened. So I don't really, if someone's going to say as mean things as they can to me, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Even if they sit there and they rip me a new one, there might be a nugget of something valuable in there. So,
well, I'll take it. And, just as an artist myself, I know there are people who absolutely love my work, totally fucking adore it. It's like the best thing ever for them. But there are people who don't like the work. It's just, that's life. That's human. That's human nature. People are completely different. So I do think there are people out there that they can't stomach just anyone having any criticism about their work. But really 100%. Being able to deal with criticism is the best way to grow as an artist. A lot of times artists will focus on those few people that really love their work and think, okay, well, these are the only people that matter. But you constantly want to grow that group of people. You want more and more people to like your work. And that comes with certain revelations that are often tied to feedback. So feedback is welcome, always welcome.
Well, and you're never going to please everybody. So there is a certain point where it's like, okay, well, I hear what you're saying and I understand, but that's just not the direction we're going. And our game is not going to be just this kind of gray blob that everybody kind of likes, but nobody really loves. Like we're going to have a niche, and that's okay. I mean, us going the direction of a creature collection / fighting RPG is already a niche in and of itself. But I still feel like it's a large enough niche that we can get the player base, and a lot of people are going to enjoy it. So
right. So is that the essence of the game? Is the action of these creatures fighting one another?
Yeah. So typically what's really fun about our game is if I say, oh, let's talk Dungeons and Dragons, the first thing people are going to think of, or probably one of the first things, it's going to be either what class do you like to play? And then what race do you like to choose? Like those are the two big things and that's pretty universal across most tabletop games.
I'm already in trouble. Black and chaotic evil.
Oh yeah, you're paladin. Hey, look, like I said, it's in the game. It's all for fun, right? It's escapism.
Yes, exactly.
But no, it's one of those things that is kind of pivotal to the genre, and we've not really broken that. We've kind of turned it on its head a little bit. So every player chooses and creates what we deem an archivist, which is the player character, the PC.
Yeah, I super like that part. Yeah.
Yeah. In our game, you play as an archivist. Now, an archivist is just you, the person, and then whatever life experiences you've had along the way. So instead of choosing like a race or a class, you choose your nation of origin, which are all based off of real world historical cultures, from like ancient Mesopotamia, Babylon, to like ancient Japan, ancient Greece, and then the other one's like ancient Scandinavia, think like Norse culture. And so all of those are kind of picked apart by players who, whatever resonates with you, that's how you create the archivist. Now, in our game, you don't choose a class. There's no fighter, there's no druid. The magic system is really tied to the creatures that you're going to be using. So everyone's kind of like a basic person, you're running around as a kind of like a basic bitch, but you do gain certain privileges for being one of the few who can actually bond with these creatures. So because of your connection with these magical creatures, you yourself ascend past just a plain old normal person as well.
Right.
So instead of classes, you have what we call expertises, which is basically what vocation did your character do, your archivist do before you found out you were an archivist? Like, were you a sailor? Did you help your parents with diplomacy? Like, were you the daughter of a diplomat? These are different things that kind of gear towards what you can do in the game outside of combat. Now, everyone knows tabletop RPGs, the huge aspect is the combat. And so in our game, we wanted to kind of overhaul that to a point and gamify it in a way that really allows players a lot of choice. And that's why we decided, okay, well, let's separate these two things. You have your archivist, your expertise, and then you have your chronican. The chronican being the creature, the magical creature that you bond with. Again, if we're going to relate it to terms people probably know, it's the Pokemon you catch. You have your starter, which we call Forechosen, that at the start of character creation, you'll choose based on the nation of origin you chose. And then from that point, through the adventures that are facilitated through the game master, then you will encounter other chronican that you can attempt to bond with as well.
Okay, so and how does that play out? Is that just something that you work out with your character beforehand, or you meet the chronican on a journey?
Well, yeah, a lot of it's going to be up, just like with any other tabletop game, it's going to fall to the GM to facilitate that story and that narrative. So, for example, one of the internal campaigns we were running for testing, the players, my players had to go through a trial of sorts that took place on a mountain. So there are certain chronican that are attracted to certain areas that you might come across. One of them being Gorplathon, which is one of the examples I sent you, which is basically like this rocky, rough marble snake that's drawn to craggy, mountainous areas because it eats rocks. And so if you or players choose to go to certain environments or locales, then there's a high chance that you will encounter these chronican in those areas.
So every character has some sort of magical bond with these chronican creatures. These characters are archivists. And how do they know? So there's normies in the world, right?
Yeah.
People are not archivists. But when you're an archivist, you play the game, right? This game is for archivists.
In the story's lore, the way we've written it, it's assumed that roughly 2% of the current population is an archivist. So it's a very, very small number of people.
Right.
Which obviously in a world that's kind of modeled after our own would cause a lot of upset. Like if 2% of people just all of a sudden could command magical animals, you're going to have a lot of issues and chaos with and certain class systems and things developing because of it. And our world reflects that.
So what is the narrative? How do you come into the game? Do you come into the game chronican-less, or do you come into the game with a chronican?
Yeah, so you actually, at your creation of your archivist, you choose a chronican. Now, the way we have it is every nation of origin has a Forechosen, 4 chronican that are basically what you can call starter chronican. But that being said, me as the GM, I can say, well, to hell with that. I'll just let them choose whatever they want. I mean, we've got 20 chronican for each nation of origin with a total of 80 at the start. I can say, you just choose whatever you want. Like, I can facilitate the game however I want it. But the rule book is there to basically guide GMs in a way that says, okay, well, this is how things are designed to be played. Here's the options, but go wild, do what you want really at the end of the day.
And these chronicans are going to fight each other. So my chronican is going to go against your chronican. That's the crux of the game.
Yes. So typically combat is facilitated through chronican on chronican combat. However, that being said, this is a tabletop game. You can choose whatever you want to do, right? If I want to go, for example, like if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and you want to go fist fight the dragon, you have that option. Now you'll probably die very quickly,
Mhm.
but you could do that.
Not me. I'd kick its legs. It's
Just
hollow,
sweep the
bony
leg-
legs.
Yeah, always sweep the legs, baby.
Obviously.
Obviously, Sitch knows how it's done. That duck-sized dragon or dragon-sized duck. But no, typically that's how we facilitate it. But the rules have also been written in a way that if you want to be your archivist, like the way our game works, it's so people I know are immediately thinking Pokemon, right? I throw my Pokeball, Pokemon comes out, I yell commands at it, right? That's
How do you deal with that? How do you distinguish yourself from the Pokemon thing?
So here's a huge point of distinction. Archivist and Chronican, this is not a pet master relationship. This is a symbiotic relationship. Once you bond with a Chronican, that Chronican already exists in a state of ethereal essence made physical. Once you bond with that Chronican, its essence and you are bound, like actually bound, spiritually, physically bound. So whenever you go into combat, whenever combat is declared, player archivists have the choice to swap. You don't like summon your creature to fight with you. You're not shouting at, Gorplathon, use rock throw. You don't do that. You transfix locations with the Chronican, and you basically are the Chronican. You are piloting that Chronican. Yeah. So now your physical body as the archivist is gone and replaced with the body of the Chronican.
What's going on there with the audio?
Oh, we get feedback?
Yeah, a little bit.
How's it now?
Well, I don't hear it now, but so
real quick, I also need I need the Wi-Fi password. I'm on the wrong Wi-Fi network. That's why my connection's
no problem.
weird.
I'll get you set up in a second. No problem.
Okay, thank you.
So you actually swap places with the Chronican. You fight as the Chronican. If the Chronican dies, your character dies. You're in some sort of symbiotic relationship with them.
So the Chronican, since it is tied to you, and you actually you can have a team of Chronican. So every archivist can have up to 3 Chronican at a time.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So, and as Chronican, you can cycle through them and basically switch places with them. But once, all your Chronican, if they're exhausted, they're all reduced to, in our game, instead of HP, it's essence points, so EP. Then the archivist is rendered unconscious. Now, this doesn't kill the archivist, obviously, because they're not your physical body, but you are now just lying unconscious. Which
can the archivist trade up for different Chronicans?
So yes, you can actually swap out your Chronican. There is we have 20 Chronican per nation of origin for a total of 80. Now the Chronican, the ones I sent you are all the first stage of these Chronican, which we call the fractured state. Now, a little background information. Chronican are not from the physical realm. They're not from our world. They basically have somehow, unbeknownst to most people, just left wherever they came from and entered the physical world. Now, in doing so, a lot of the magic that they actually possess was stripped away. And so they appear in these reduced forms, typically speaking, and these forms being the fractured form, balanced form, and fabled form. Now, as players progress with their Chronican, they can accrue special, we'll call them experience points, but we call them ascension points because the state of change is ascension. They are ascending. So your Chronic can ascend between fractured, balanced, and to finally fable, which closely resembles their true form, their true appearance, and inspirations from the myths that they derive from.
So are you part of that process, the evolving of the Chronican?
I am in the like you talking about the players? Are they in the process?
The players, yeah. As a player, am I helping my Chronican?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Become all the Chronican can be? Is that part of the goal of the game?
Yeah, so we kind of tiered the states of adventure. I like working in tier systems because it's really easy way to define states of play. D&D does this too, but it's a lot more vague. It's not really, they have like, you're starting out, your adventurer and your legendary. Like we've done something similar where the first few levels in our game are basically the Green Horde tier. Then the middle of the game is called the adventurer tier. And then the end of the game, basically your end game, is called the legend tier. And that just kind of represents where you are as a player character, as your archivist. Now, through each of those tiers, there is actual progression that is going to follow along with your Chronican. So, for example, when you're in the Greenhorn tier, which for us is chapters 1 through 4, or levels 1 through 4, all your Chronican are going to be fractured, right? Once you as a player archivist gets to the next tier of the adventurer, then your Chronic can have the ability to ascend to that next form. Now that doesn't mean it automatically happens. You can't just like go out and bond with a new Chronic and they're balanced now, they're stronger. No, you still would have to take that Chronic and adventure with it and accrue the aforementioned experience points for that individual Chronic. Once you meet the threshold, if you're in the tier, boom, they ascend as well, and they're powerful version.
And how many forms of the Chronican are there?
Every Chronican has 3 forms.
3 forms. Okay, so there's small, medium, and large. You're trying to get it. Does it grow in size as it
usually
as it goes?
Yeah, usually they typically do. Most of them start fairly diminutively with being, in our size system, it's very similar to most tabletop games. We have small, medium, huge, I think, and colossal, I think is, yeah.
And the goal is to get it bigger, right? To get your Chronican big so that you can go into any battle with your Chronican and just
not
clean
always.
house.
Yeah, typically, yeah, but not always. You're gonna have some that don't really change too much in size, but their power comes from somewhere else, be it their speed, the abilities they gain.
Okay.
Like you're always going to scale in power regardless, but how that scale is represented does depend on the Chronican.
Right. But your goal is to get them more powerful so that you're more powerful, right? You're using them to destroy other players, right? That's the ultimate goal of the game.
Yeah. Well, like whatever the setting or the story that you're decided to play. So for example, I know with like the Dungeons and Dragons game we played, the goal was to kind of figure out this mystery in the mine. So you can very easily run something very similarly with our game as well. Obviously it probably wouldn't be the same type of monsters. It would be these Chronican. Now that being said, an important distinction or important note to make is our game does have other, I guess, antagonists or creatures other than Chronican.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yes. So we have our Chronican, which are the creatures you bond with specifically. And then we have everything else, which are what we've called them prosaics, which if you know what that word means, it's kind of a play on the definition, because typically it means mundane or normal. But prosaics are basically real world creatures, humans, objects that, because of the magic seeping in from the Chronican realm, is affecting and twisting things in the physical realm. So, for example, think of like a topiary that comes to life because of nature magic pouring in from the Chronican realm. And so now you've got this animated topiary that's, running amok or whatever. That would be a prosaic. You can't bond with those. Those are just basically either obstacles in the world or facilitate certain stories or whatever.
So there's bad monsters that the Chronican can fight. You don't always have to fight other Chronican.
100%.
Are there bad Chronican and good Chronican?
So most Chronican are going to exist in a state when they are not bonded as per their nature, or their archetype. A lot of Chronican, we have this system that mirrors our expertise system. So, the expertise being the class system we have, there's 12 of them. There's also 12 archetypes that any one Chronican can have. Now, that will also dictate a lot of their behavior. So, for example, one of the archetypes is the Ravager. A Chronican that is the Ravager archetype is probably going to be very violent, probably aggressive to interlopers. It might be territorial, things like that. You have other Chronican like the Dreamer. That's another archetype that mirrors more about the romanticism, song, poetry. So those Chronican will probably not be as aggressive to players unless they are aggressed upon.
So what are the various components of the game? Like you have a document that lays out the entire world. Do you have narrative stories as well?
Yeah, so we actually plan to launch with one adventure module that is kind of it's going to be very close to the internal campaign we're running right now. And it's going to be basically just kind of a short module, most likely PDF, that players can kind of use to get going. And it will basically facilitate a lot of that early game play, kind of help showcase the mechanics. It starts at a Chronican Academy. So, like Hogwarts or something, or like a trainer school in Pokemon, like you
great.
Start the game like learning about it. And it's based off of one of the nations of Daeolis, which is ancient Greece, basically. And so it's very, like that Greco-Roman feel, a lot of like Colosseum style. And, I think like that's really approachable as far as fantasy is concerned. Greek mythology is really, heavily ingrained in a lot of pop culture and stuff. So that's kind of why we went that direction.
So how are these games marketed these days? Obviously, I played Dungeons and Dragons when I was very young, so I remember there was various modules that just looked interesting that made us want to play those modules. How is it done now? Is it kind of similar?
Yeah, a lot of it is going. I mean, obviously, with the invention of the internet, disseminating information is a lot easier. You've got like Twitter, Facebook, stuff like that. When we start our crowdfunding, that's going to be a huge indicator of the appeal and how many people are actually interested in it. But yeah, a lot of it is the local game store I go to. I mean, I have spent way too much money on Magic cards there. So I'm really good friends with the owners. I've talked to him about it. And so like when we get our physical book copy, he's like, yeah, give me some. I'll put them out on the counters. I will distribute them for you and everything. That way they're out there, people can pick them up. Because I'm sure Adam, the first thing when you pick up a book like that, like a rule book, and you open up, like, what's the cover look like? What's the splash art on the front page?
Yeah.
What's going to pull you in? So that's the aesthetics is a huge point that we're zeroing in on to make sure we nail.
Yeah, you got to come up with characters that people want to play, people want to be. They want to they want to think, look, I want to play this character, I want to be this character. So are you planning on just coming up with different modules? Are you going to write 10 modules, 20 modules?
So we're only going to launch with the first one. We have plans for other modules, and those will also release new Chronican when we do them. We've talked about, because the whole kind of setting takes place right now more in the Western or Eastern hemisphere. So like all our nations of origin is basically like the Mediterranean, the Middle East, the Scandinavian countries, and then the Far East. But obviously history has all this, included countries and nations and empires all over the world around this time. So we have really a wealth of material to pull from, because all these places have myths and legends that we can also draw inspiration from. And we actually have one of our internal docs has lists of Chronican we've shelved because they're either from like a Native American legends or from like European more centric, and they didn't fit into what we're releasing with. But we still have all that stuff there to go back to and flesh out and release with further modules.
Does the universe exist at a particular time?
Yes, but we keep that somewhat vague. We've taken these ancient the story and the setting is basically these creatures appeared at some point in the distant past while these ancient civilizations were either thriving or developing, and that's kind of caused this upset, this chaotic craziness that you see going forward. So it's not modern day. You're not going to be seeing like guns and stuff like that. But that being said, the introduction of Chronican does help facilitate the understanding of, like, for example, if your Chronican can create fire or can create steam or something, that can help facilitate advancements that might not happen until way later in our history.
Right.
You've introduced magic into this world, and so obviously you're going to have that impact the advancement of technology in various cultures.
So magic is a definite part of this universe.
Yeah, and the craziest thing is it's facilitated almost entirely by Chronican. So you've got a very small portion of the world who has access to these abilities and these creatures.
Right, and those are all the archivists.
Yep, all the archivists. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, one of the things I love doing, I love writing. I used to write short stories all the time. And, I used to read tons of fantasy novels. So one of the big things that I really wanted to include was a strong setting for players to get inspired by and pull from. When you play a game like Dungeons and Dragons, I didn't ever use their Forgotten Realms. I might have borrowed a few things, but I never ever used what they established, because I was like, I'll make my own. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy world building. So I would always kind of just go off. And in fact, when the game that my buddy told me, he asked me, like, why aren't you just doing this, was a Starfinder game, which is basically fantasy D&D, or sorry, sci-fi, yeah, science fiction D&D. And I had created my own solar systems, and Drew was actually in that game, and so he can attest. Yeah. I had entire planets with their own ecosystems, their own species, everything. I mean, I have a binder somewhere in my workshop here that's just like this thick, full of information, like an encyclopedia on this stupid make-believe sci-fi world. So
it would probably be hard to appropriate some of that for modules if it's sci-fi though. Sci-fi would be out of character for this game.
technically, this is more of a fantasy setting or traditional old fantasy, old world. But that being said, the great thing about most systems can be, if you understand the rules and your rules are basic enough, you can pretty much put it in any setting. There's no reason why your Chronican can't exist in a site. Like, I mean, our lore isn't written that way. But if you want to create your own lore, make up what you want, all the systems, all the characters, all the rules are there for you to take and do with what you want.
Our community really likes the fantasy stuff. I did a poll on our How to Kill a Franchise channel, and I was super surprised by it because I'm much more of a sci-fi guy.
Transhumanist, I know.
Everyone was, Lord of the Rings was the top winner and by a large margin for people's interest over, I think, Star Wars and Star Trek. So a lot of people in the community are definitely more into the fantasy stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic or contrast to look between the two. There's obviously a lot of crossover, but you also, I think with fantasy, you almost have more limiters because you are kind of stuck in this old world setting, whereas sci-fi, you can kind of go a little bit hog wild with a lot of it because it is so far outside the realm of our understanding.
Right. So you sent me some figures as well. Why don't you tell me about these figures? I brought them up on the screen here.
Those are going to be, you're talking about the 3D renders, right?
Yeah, I guess they're 3D renders. I thought they were actual 3D printing. I thought they were objects, physical objects.
Well, you can. So I use those in a program called Hero Forge,
Mhm.
which if you guys do any kind of tabletop stuff and you have a little bit of money, and some of them aren't even that expensive. Like if you don't get it painted or you use like a certain material, but basically they're a website that you can create your own miniatures. And the option, and they're always adding stuff. Like I've been using them for years and they're constantly adding new things. It is ridiculous the freedom it gives you. I got like you probably, I don't know if you can see it, but I printed one of them. See it right there.
They're actually the kind of the inspiration of how we started our company in the beginning. Anyways, the early renditions of Hero Forge was kind of lacking. We're like, oh, we should do that ourselves. Like we can start a website just like them and do that. And then our company kind of went a different direction with creating our game instead.
Cool. So you have made some of these.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you
you
commission them to do?
Oh, go ahead, Adam.
How do these things come into existence?
Well, so they actually have their own, like they have a manufacturing printing place that they have all those printed out. I've got our own 3D printers that we print a bunch, like all our dice we printed ourselves. Because
where did you get the characters from?
I made them. I just from the parts that they offered.
Oh, okay.
So the website has a bunch of different options. You can choose different clothing options, body options, and so I went through there and just selected because these are all based off of what an archivist might look like. Depending upon whether or not they're from the Greek-inspired place Daolis or from the Japanese-inspired nation of Tengipon. They're going to have very similar aesthetics, and so that's what we're looking at right now. Is those characters, and because you are playing a vocation, your class is your expertise. It's what you did in your life. You have things like the entertainer or the ranger or diplomat, the athlete. These are your classes you pick when you make your character. And that's going to determine what things you excel at while you're role playing.
Cool. Yeah, I did read in the book a bit about how to make the character, picking who you are and where you're from and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we wanted to, because I know me personally, I when I play tabletop games, I always like to be like the wackiest race available. Like I like to be the weird non-humanoid creature like a dragonborn or whatever. I don't play tieflings though. I only did once. But I like to go out. I don't like to play a human fighter. I like to be weird.
You don't want to be the human knight? Come on.
No, I'm the special snowflake, Sitch. I'm the guy who's like, what's the weirdest class? I'm what's the turtle? The turtle? I think that's like the turtle race. I'm like the turtle monk. That's what I want to do. But I realized when we decided to kind of make this human centric that we might lose some of that, I guess, flair. But being so culturally inspired, and I'm telling you, like, we've met with cultural leaders, like I've been to different museums based off these places to really make sure we capture that aesthetic and that history. And then you add on top of that the uniqueness of all the Chronic, and I'm hoping that we still give the players the options that they really want in customizing their player archivists.
Yeah. I sent you I didn't 100% finish, but I sent you some of the pictures she's working on. If you want to look at them and if you want to bring some of them up or not, let us know.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
In the
yes.
DMs.
Put that up there. That is gorgeous.
Which
God, what
which one? All of them? Which one?
I just saw the one.
There's like a draft version and then there's like the
The
assisted
draft version and the last version.
Okay.
God.
Wow, these are amazing.
If Sammy can distill her talent and sell it, I like just a bottle of essence. That's just, yeah, the first one, and then the creature, the close up of Kotengiri, the little raccoon dog. Those two, yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
Good.
Yeah, those are that's I just, man, I'm blown away. She's been sending me updates like as she went along, and just,
So who's she?
Sammy G.
Oh, Sammy G sent these?
Yeah, she's been working on some of the art, helping me with a few things in her busy life, taking care of Sitch.
Yeah,
I take a lot of time. It's true.
These are great.
Very high maintenance, right?
You got to feed me,
Yeah, feed you, clothe you,
clean the house.
make sure you go to bed at a decent time.
Yes.
Just
I feel like actually, I
just to
think I
clean
know all
up
these
after
things.
you. Is that what you're saying?
I think this is all reversed.
Slander.
Make sure she goes to bed on time, charge her phone, but
That
she's
is
busy
the meme,
drawing,
isn't it?
okay?
Usually it's like whenever you see the memes, it's the girls who are really messy, right?
No, she's not messy, but
oh, okay, all right, just discombobulated.
I just got to make sure she drinks water and that her phone is charged.
Don't
I feel like
feed
that's
her
a
after
pretty
midnight.
common thing.
I think there's two ways to sell people on playing the game. Is obviously great imagery is a step in the right direction. Also, just people playing it and having fun playing it. So I think we could play it. But I mean, we really need to get Asmongold to play it. Like, he's huge. Obviously, that would bring everyone's attention to it.
Yeah. If I got him to do a stream of a tabletop game,
I don't know if he's ever done anything like that.
I don't think he has either.
I mean, if there are the equivalent in Reach, but are more in the tabletop game area than Asmongold, I mean, obviously getting someone big to put attention onto your game would be huge.
Oh yeah, no, and there are some pretty big creators in the space too. I mean, it's tabletop, so it is going to have its small little communities, and I myself am involved in a lot of those. But there are, even within those micro communities, huge creators, at least when you think about the reach of a lot of other ones. So I mean, like there is her name is Harmony Ginger. We actually met her at DaveCon. She's really cool. And she facilitates a lot of tabletop games, and then she kind of comments on them. She has a YouTube channel, and so we've talked to her about stuff, and so there are people out there that can kind of help push some of the stuff. But what are you laughing at?
Sammy G in the chat says, "I didn't finish them."
Oh yeah, she wanted to specify the two colored ones. Those were, she used AI assisted, but the one that sketched, the two that that's Kotengiri. He's from Tengipon. And then the one with the archivist, she did that. So, and she did a phenomenal job. I love them. I'm going to, when it's finished, I'm going to hang it on my wall.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, no. I mean, the AI did a pretty good job of sticking to what she had done.
Yeah.
And just kind of putting a finishing
Well, you got to
touch on
finesse it a bunch,
Oh no, yeah, no. We don't use AI with any of our art just because it's so.
What do you mean? What you have to finesse?
You get it keeps wanting to do it like shitty. You have to keep working with it.
Yeah, I
Right.
know. Like I've played around with it before with sketches I've done, and it will just add shit. I'm like, I've literally sat there and had to yell at it, by typing, saying, "What are you doing? Why did you do that?"
Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
funny when it starts apologizing. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
very sorry.
It won't change. Yeah. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
And that's another reason why we don't want to use any AI. It's kind of funny when you think about AI and content creation or art or media. It's really in this awkward kind of place where, yeah, and I don't really get involved in it a whole lot when it comes to Twitter, just because it's not worth having the conversation. People have their minds made up. But like, to me, there is a lot. To me, it's a tool. Like, what are you going to use it? How are you going to use it? All the art we're doing is hand drawn. It's drawn by me 100%, and then it's going to be given to an artist, someone like Sammy, or someone that's going to have the style, and they're going to do it. Like, we're not doing anything with AI at all in the game. But as far as like compiling lists of stuff, if I have to, when we have 80 creatures, if I want to compile a list, one of the things I was doing was, we have a bunch of, like I said, all of our Chronican have an aspect, which is basically their elemental type, like fire, water, grass, and then they have an archetype being like their behavior, the myths that inspired them: dreamer, the fabricator,
The wild
ravager,
one.
yeah, the champion. So
Champion.
we want to make sure that we have a balanced amount between, you don't want to have one be so dominant and then none of the other ones, because these do affect how players play the game. They give you different bonuses depending upon what you have. And so, what I would do is, when I have this massive list, I would say, okay, well, can you list how many champions I have? And it would go through and say, oh, you've got 4 in this region, 2 in this region, etc. And so for that kind of thing, it's really helpful, because then I can just kind of get it to quickly analyze everything we have and stick it on there. And then we can update our master list and cross-examine and make sure it's referenced correctly. But yeah, it's one of those things where, a lot of, like, I think that's one of the things that's been going so slow, is so much of it, this has been just Drew and I. We are the progenitors. We are the big daddies who have done pretty much everything with this game.
I've slimmed down some.
The slim daddies.
I wouldn't look at this image and think, oh yeah, that's totally AI. If you told me it was AI, I wouldn't. I mean, I would say, okay, that is AI. It's just it's interesting, because I don't know that people care. People who are interested in playing the game are just going to be, they're going to like the image or they're not going to like the image.
Yeah, people do care. I promise you.
Yeah.
People care. They care a lot.
I guess,
lot of
I guess,
anti-AI.
I guess they care when they find out it is AI, because they feel duped. They're like, oh, I really liked this image and I thought a human made it, but now that I know a computer made it, I'm very upset.
Well, and there's ethical questions. A lot of the art is sourced from existing art. It's kind of compiling everything together and generating it in that way. And so
Yeah.
there's like a lot of ethical questions there about, is it stealing because it's using work that it isn't being allowed to use or whatever. And again, like I said, it's such a new thing. Like, I'm not comfortable having like this huge, like, oh, this is my opinion on it. I just know that there are a lot of people, especially in the tabletop space, where it's like I won't use AI to write anything for me, because one, it's very specific. You can kind of tell, when it's written something. But two, I do know that like it's just one of those taboos that it's not worth it. And then three, I like having control over things anyways. I'm a kind of a control freak, so it's like I'd rather write it anyways, because I can make sure I get in there exactly what I want.
Right. Yeah. I don't know about AI in the writing realm as much. It seems like AI is a really not well, look, I've never really used it for creative writing, so
Yeah.
I don't. Just in the imagery though, I mean, it does some pretty amazing stuff. And I mean, I follow a bunch of artists that exclusively do AI stuff on Twitter, just because it's very inspirational and I really like the work. But I mean, I get a lot of people are upset about it, but I guess I'm just not one of those people.
Yeah. Sammy's pointing out that the AI also messed up the toe beans on, and
Very
she's
important.
right. That is a pivotal part of the design. So
Of course.
Well, in the realm, just in the business realm of selling a game or creating characters, the people who own these huge properties, they're going to be using AI, right?
Oh, 100%.
Obviously, Dungeons and Dragons, anything that's a big name already is going to use AI to, exponentially increase the amount of work that they can put out.
Yeah. Well, and
Production ready
what's a
work.
problem too is so much, like, even when someone doesn't use AI, you get just all these different responses saying they are. And it's like, okay, well, I guess everyone has to record themselves drawing now, because people will see something like, oh, well, this is AI. I've seen so many different artists on Twitter who just get crapped all over because one dumbass is like, oh, this is AI. And then people just bandwagon with the beat down.
Yeah, because they're jealous because it looks amazing. I mean, that's always going to happen. But isn't it kind? I mean, isn't it kind of pointless to put a bunch of time and energy into something that can completely be undercut so easily?
Yes and no. I do think I I think from a purely marketing or business standpoint, yeah, I can understand that. But the way I also look at it, and it's kind of funny because this plays into some other issues I've been having with the other business I started, is there is almost a marketability of saying I'm not this thing. So, for example, like, it's almost like the when you see all the meat that has no antibiotics ever used, right? Or
Yeah.
it's like, free range, all these different things
I always
that,
think that's bullshit.
well, yeah, of course. But, it is something that they can market with by saying, like, hey, look, we've got all this. We don't do these things that everybody does to save money or whatever, and that makes us better. Now we can charge extra money for it. And so I
Yeah.
do think there is kind of like this idea with certain people that, let's call them the ethical shopper. They look at different products and they say, oh, wow, this says this has a stamp of approval. It hasn't used AI. Okay. That makes me, let me look into this. I'm interested now, that kind of thing.
Not only that, but like he was saying earlier, AI just takes from someone else and combines it with whatever you're asking for that somewhere else had. Again, it doesn't come up with original ideas, and our game is mainly original. There's barely, we get inspiration, sure, but everything that we make is ours for sure. Like,
Well,
we're not taking someone else's and smashing them together.
well,
Yeah, it's our
someone who
babies.
has studied way, way too much art history, I think there are a lot of people who will contest that notion that there's actually anything new, that
No,
things
yeah.
are
Right. Okay. Yeah.
always being taken from some other previous source. Even the most famous artists in the world are taking from other sources. So this idea that just because AI borrows from somewhere else and well, humans do that just as much. So I don't know that that's a unique quality to AI or art in general, but
Yeah, but we're not dirty clankers, Adam. So it's okay.
no, I totally, I get it, especially as someone who has spent my entire life learning to draw and paint and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm doing oil paintings, so
Yeah,
AI is
traditional
not
medium.
really, yeah, there's a technical aspect of once you get an image, and I do a lot of drawing in digital because digital is just fucking amazing. You can, so much of an oil painting is figuring it out, trying to figure out, okay, how does this work compositionally? And if you can do that digitally, oh God, you save yourself so much time. If you can figure out the colors digitally, you save yourself so much time. But then once I get to the studio and I'm like, okay, it's very important that I get these colors accurate. It's super hard. I'm spending most of my day mixing paint,
Yeah.
mixing paint.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. So, I mean, but that you see that, and when you see it in an oil painting, you're like, okay, well, he can't use AI because look, it's an oil painting. Like, how do you do that? If
Mhm.
it's something that you've done digitally and you print out, then obviously AI could have been used. So,
You know, yeah, to switch gears, Sitch, you've actually played our game, albeit an earlier version of it.
Mhm.
What did you think, if you don't mind me asking?
I thought it was really fun, and I liked the. I think the idea of having it with the Chronicles is good because a lot of times when you're playing D&D, you're like you have to kind of set in your class in the beginning, and then you're playing. You're like, okay, maybe I want to do something different, but you can't because you're stuck with your class. So you have to create a new character. So like with this, it's like okay, well you have your different Chronicles, so you can get different Chronicles. So you have more. It's like you have more of options to like try new things consistently.
Yeah. That was definitely a driving factor for combat specifically too. All the Chronicles, we have an internal list of basically roles.
Mhm.
They, like you think traditional game, like your tanks, your assassins, your marksmen, that kind of thing. And so we've made sure to make a good amount of variety as far as how each Chronicle is supposed to play. And so that way, like if you want to be a purely like, I just want 3 beefy boys on my team, like you can do that. You can find 3 beefy boys and then you got your beefy team. It's all
Mhm.
beef.
Wicked asked, I don't know if you responded. Wicked asked if there was going to be in the book ways to guidance in the creating your own Chronicles.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes. Actually, so we have we have not hidden any of our formulas for how we calculate stats or any of that.
Mhm.
And we have also, so all Chronicle are basically comprised of a few things. It's going to be obviously the inspiration, so the name, the aspect, which we have 12 aspects, 11 that are really only ones you can use, but 12 total, and then an archetype. And then you have what we call hallmarks, but basically think ability scores. If you're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, every Chronicle has 4 hallmarks. And then all things like their health and their speed, all that is going to be calculated based on those hallmarks. And we have our equations, which makes it sound complicated. It's really not. But we have all that listed in the book for each, fractured, balanced, and fabled. So if you want to create your own Chronicle and say you want like a Chronicle based off of cryptid like Mothman or Bigfoot, you can 100% do that.
Nice.
Yeah, all the attacks they learn, we call them battle techniques. Essentially, just think spells, or if you're thinking in Pokemon terms, it's just the move set that Pokemon can have. So the Chronicle we've created are very limited to what they have available, and they get more as you get stronger, obviously. But in the game, that's going to be listed. We have each one separated by the aspect they belong to, and you can take those and slap them on anything you want. Now, it might not be super balanced if you're taking ones that might be, have recharges or whatever. But yeah, you can 100% do that.
Nice.
Same thing with prosaics, by the way, too. The other creatures, the antagonistic creatures we have in our world, we also have the ways to create those too, if you want.
Yeah, and it's good that you got the non-Chronican, so it's not like the weird question of, am I eating Pokemon?
Yeah, well, that's the cool thing is we wanted to make Chronicle are truly magical creatures. Like when they die, they don't like fall over into a corpse and decompose. They evanesce, which is basically they just dematerialize into their they can't hold that physical form anymore.
Oh, I thought they become a
Magical
2000s rock singer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like 2000s they sing about
Wake me up.
Thank you. I was trying to remember it.
Yes.
Yeah, they wake me up. But no, they do. They dematerialize into their essence, and they drift back into the bonding trinket. Or if they're wild Chronicle, then they're basically forced back to wherever they came from, the magical realm.
So when are we gonna play this online? Show everybody.
So I actually am. Drew and I have been looking at facilitating it through something like Roll20 and looking at like, okay, what would we need to do to get our system here in the website? And I actually think we can probably. I want to get it ready to go before DaveCon so we can start running some external testing online. Like my whole thing is I want to get this into the hands of people, especially when we have everything finalized. There's still a few things that aren't in the rule book that we are balancing right now. So a lot of the later game stuff, we're still working to balance the power scaling and all that. But everything about from the start to about halfway point of the game or a little bit earlier than that, I mean, it is exhaustive. We made sure it works. So we're hoping to maybe get some stuff out there for people and get that feedback, especially coming into the announcement for the crowdfunding.
Nice. Okay, very cool. Well, we'll be here.
Quick question, Adam. Which one was your favorite of the 8 that I sent you of the Chronicle?
We can't play the game though until we have some sort of, because you're creating awareness and you're giving people the desire to play the game themselves. So unless you can fulfill that desire, you're kind of creating hype without any.
Oh yeah, no. What I meant was if we do an online game, I'll have the PDF ready to go. Like, right. So we can basically have like a link that players can either go to download it or take it or whatever, or viewers can see. So it would be at that point when we are comfortable with a PDF of the rule book and then kind of have that sent out for people.
I didn't really look closely at the characters, so I'm not sure that I could give you a favorite. Obviously, I could give you a favorite based just on aesthetics, but Don't they have special powers and stuff like that?
They do, but yeah, if you're just a glance, like if you opened up our Chronic and Archives or Bestiary and you're flipping through the pages, which one would jump out at you?
I mean, I like the narwhal one.
That's mine.
Oh,
That's
is
yours,
it?
baby. Yep.
That's the one that I brought up. Yeah. Looks like a very majestic creature. Does it play
Yes.
out of that horn?
Yes, actually. It's kind of based off of the Noken or the Nyx in Scandinavian mythology. So it likes to play the horn, trying to get you drawn into the water. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of based off of that, where it looks cool, it looks majestic, sure, but it's a killer.
Oh, okay. Interesting. It's a fake out.
It's got those long,
Right.
meaty arms that just reach out and grab you.
It's like the manatee. You're like, oh, they're so majestic. I just want to ride one.
Sammy was asking if one eats the shroom doggo, which is Kotengiri, if they get high. So if you try to eat the Chronican, it will, I mean, there's no physical body attached to it. It will just basically be reduced back to its magical essence and fade away. However, it does produce spores that will get you high. So, snuggling with it,
nice.
snuggling with it is probably not advised unless you're into that.
Is that the?
I'm into that.
I didn't send you it's the one in the art that Sammy sent us.
Oh, okay. I got you. The one with the mushroom hat.
Little green boy. Yeah. I love him. I
Makes
tried when I designed the original sketch I did, I wanted to have that kind of vacant expression of just that 1,000-yard stare.
He's high off his own supply.
High off his own supply, baby.
All
Well,
the
plus,
time.
he's based off of the Tanuki and some other like kind of trickster spirits in Japanese mythology, and so
Right.
a
Doesn't
lot-
have his genitals out though, like a Tanuki, which is appreciated.
Yeah, we're our age rating. We're going for kind of like that middle ground of like young teen.
Right.
So we have like stuff in there like references to blood and death, but it's not as graphic as it probably could be.
I mean, it has a mushroom shape.
Yeah,
just
there you
it's
go.
close
There you
enough.
go. There you go.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
true.
It's
I
not
figured
explicit.
it out.
Yeah, but
Going
yeah,
for the
that's
all
just
ages.
that's just some of, like I said, and plus we have 20 per of our nations of origin, so it's 80 total, and each one has 3 stages. So there's no shortage of going to be creatures and designs for people to get drawn to. Hopefully,
Well, great. I guess the next step is for us to play it when you are ready to launch your campaign and have some materials that other people can play.
Well, we've been kicking it into high gear because, like I said, the event organizer for DaveCon he's been talking to me saying, "Hey, I got this table. You want to put some games on?" And I'm like, "Yes." But we obviously want to have, like what I'm showing you guys today. This is not finished product. This is basically all of our internal documents. All of these are going to be formatted basically what you see when you crack open the PHB for Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder.
Mhm.
Our book will be like that. So I'm in the process of looking for artists that can, because I mean these are all my art, and I'm not a terrible artist by any means, but I am not what I want. Like there's this very specific vision I see in my head, and so I got to find someone to facilitate that, which Adam, as you know, is not an easy task.
No, not at all. Yeah. You end up spending thousands of hours doing it yourself.
Of course.
Yeah. So if anyone knows any artists, who can do a Da Vinci style sketch, hit me up on the twits.
It's a shame you can't just use AI, but I guess.
And there's all these websites to like hire people, and I've gone through them, and I always tell Drew, I'm like, I got a good feeling about this one. And then they send me, I'm like, thank you. And just like pay them whatever, then move on, because it's like, this is not what I. And
It's terrible.
It's not terrible. It's just not.
Not what you want.
It's not what I wanted. And
Even
it's one of those things
AI,
where,
you're going to spend a lot of time with. Obviously, AI gives you what it wants. It doesn't give you what you want.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the Pokemon development, but they do these things called SETI, which is basically like sketches of the creature of the Pokemon doing different things. And so it will have it like its front view. It might like show part of its body that like attacks from, that kind of thing. And so when we open up our Chronic and Archives or Bestiary, I want it to be like someone was sketching them. They saw them out the wild, they were drawing them and sketching them, and kind of like, oh, what's this? They have weird things on their feet. Oh, the holes in the back, what does that do? And then the description written on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
just
cool. Yeah.
to play to the fantasy and
Right.
the feel of the game.
I think AI has probably demoralized a lot of people to the point where you're not really going to have people developing skills as artists.
Yeah, I
So
can see that. Well, people are just naturally drawn to the shortcut. It's just the path of least resistance. Especially if it's something like you said that you want to make money with. Time is money at the end of the day, and if you're spending more time not making money, you're not going to make money. And so
well,
I can
and just
definitely
the
see.
ability to get anything. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're setting a deadline for yourself, but obviously you're at the whim of the artist that you're able to hire.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
Of course.
yeah.
Well, I will say I have the meme of the guy from Puss in Boots Last Wish. He kicks the pencil and says pick it up. People always put that for AI defenders. So I have actually been I like, if you look at some of the earlier stuff I did compared to what I have now, it's a lot better. And that's just because I'm not a digital artist. All my stuff has always been physical medium. I've been terrified of digital art my entire life.
Why? Oh, it's amazing.
Because I dropped out of art college and it scarred me.
So amazing.
It's so much better.
It is. And now that I'm learning it and I'm actually taking the time to not be such a chicken shit and actually get into the programs and watch videos, it's like working with layers is just a godsend.
Yep.
To be able
layers, and also the different types of layers. If you do like a multiply layer, you can do your shadows just in
see, I don't even know that. So
yeah.
That's specific brushes.
Key. Yeah.
Like
the brushes can be a trap though, because some of the texture brushes you're like, oh, this is going to be perfect, and then
it's not. Yeah,
it's
sure,
not at all.
But our Hiltshurt, hey, what's up? Our Hiltshurt for $2 asks, are there breeding mechanics? Asking for a friend.
So we don't have any breeding with the Chronican, just because, like I said, they're not technically physical beings. But there is since the Archivist bonds with the Chronican, I mean, it's like there's a union happening there. So
wow,
you can take that as is, I guess.
Nick Snack is not Vaporeon.
Yeah.
There you go. Is there like a summoning? Can you summon them from the magical realm?
So like I said, you technically swap places from them. So you, as the Archivist, as a human, cannot exist at the same time as your bonded Chronican, except there is some stuff later in player progression that can allow for that. But early on, no, you just don't. You lack the spiritual presence and magic to be able to maintain both forms at once. Okay. Now that being said, there is some form of autonomy or personality with the creatures. In fact, it's one of our modular rules. A lot of our rules, basically, we have standard rules and modular rules. Modular rules being, hey, I want a different experience with my game. I want it to be harder, whatever. You can basically take those rules and place them into whatever game you're playing. So there is a modular rule that gives more autonomy to the Chronican based off of their archetype. So think about like Charizard and Ash, where Charizard wouldn't listen to Ash because he was an asshole and Ash was unworthy. You might have a Chronican that you're trying to control that is a Ravager type. And then in your Archivist form, he might be trying to influence you to do different things. So you might not be a violent person at nature, but you might have a Ravager Chronican that is trying to push you to be more violent.
That's cool. Okay. Interesting. I like that. Our Hiltzer for another $2. Thank you. Says make a horse Chronican and Vosh will be all over this. There you go.
Yeah, you get him to play.
You get him to play.
He can play as a horse.
Very first Chronican, and it's not even in our game right now. It's one of the shelved ones I talked about earlier. But the very first Chronican I designed was based off a centaur.
Oh no!
And, yeah, but I wanted to be. I'm like I said, I'm super special snowflake. I don't want we don't have humanoid Chronican. Like we have some that are bipedal, that are more like primate, but we really wanted to make them distinctly creatures. And so to try to how would I do this fusion of human and horse? So I made a horse, an equine creature, but it had 6 limbs. And so it is like, oh gosh, I got to find a picture sometime. I'll send it to you if I can locate it. But it's like this, almost like this 6-legged horse creature, centipede looking thing. And I really loved it, but it wasn't fitting in what we had. So,
okay. Well, I guess that leads into Harrison Dill for $5 asks, is there half human creatures in the games like centaurs and mermaids?
Nope, we do not do any half creatures. Now that being said,
we do have prosaic humanoids.
Yes. Oh, yes, that's correct.
True.
So yeah, outside of the Chronican, the other entities in the game, the prosaics, there are humanoid prosaics. And so far as like people who actually can cast spells or do magic similar to Chronican, because they have been, in fact, Sitch, I don't know if you remember, in the game we played, that guy's brother, remember those two people you're tracking, his brother was a prosaic, and he was trying to hide him because obviously the government there, they it's like any prosaic gets locked up and studied because they're a danger to society.
The guy we ran down.
Yeah, you
That was
yeah,
what it was.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's definitely going to be, and then also some people do get changed because so one of our elements or aspects is the beast, and so there are people that become more bestial because they're just super infused with this beast aspect, and so you might have people who look like were people, like were cats or were boars or whatever, because the beast aspect is changing them physically.
Eurofox says, "Can they die and be eaten?"
Nope,
the
nope, they
prosaic.
are. I mean, I guess you can maybe distill them down into like an essence porridge, and just
Can
like
you
scoop
snort
that
them?
up. Yeah, it's there you go. Yeah,
Are they
Wow.
snortable?
that might have some effect. But typically, once a Chronican can't maintain its physical form, it either gets forced back into its bonding trinket, which the archivist.
I think he was asking about the prosaic.
Oh yeah, you can eat prosaics.
There you go. You can
100%.
eat your mermaid, Xerofox, you disgusting person.
Well, because like I said, those are physical things that have been
Yes.
corrupted or changed. So
Right.
and that
Now,
might
I do
have
like
other effects on you or the person eating them.
I do like the idea of evil Chronican Team Rocket people who they're distilling Chronican essence into a powder to sell for the drug trade. I do like that's a good concept.
So
Yeah,
one of
that'd
the
be a good
factions,
module.
one of the factions we have in the game is a very, we'll say, inspired Team Rocket faction,
Nice.
where they are kind of they run the criminal. They like the chaos that has been presented, and they want to gain from it. They want to gain influence, money, prestige, and all that. And so you have other factions that are basically hyper anti-Chronican, and so they see anything that they're basically like Luddites but for magic, and anything that depicts that they want to destroy it, and all their technology, all their stuff is geared towards stopping the Chronican encroachment and prosaic encroachment. So
lives in Deswell
in the world different ways.
Lives in Deswell specifically for $2. All these questions says, can we eat the Pokemon if we really want to? Everyone wants to eat why does everyone want to eat the Pokemon? Why
it's either eat or have relations with. Like,
I know.
That's the two.
Guys. What's going on here? Harrison Del Fortera says, what do you think about AI chat RPGs?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I'll let Adam answer first.
Well, I've never played one, so I don't know. Are they any good? I'm not totally against AI just because it's AI, which I think a lot of people are just instantly against it. I like to judge images on the aesthetics, and if AI gets it right, I think
or
AI,
if it's fun.
A great fun AI image I'll take any day over a really shitty human-made image, which I don't know how you can say the opposite of that, but it seems like some people do. So if the role-playing game is good and AI is involved, I'm not against it.
I will say that there is a YouTuber, and I wish I remembered his name because it was hilarious, but he made a series of videos where he was DMing for AI players, and it was hilarious. I watched, he had two of them come out, and he basically programs these AI players to have certain personalities, certain stuff, and then basically attaches a voice to them. And then he's the DM and provides prompts to what's happening, and they respond. And
that is a hilarious concept.
It was, oh my God, if I find the link, I'll send it to you guys later on Twitter or something. But it was, I showed it. I watched it twice. I watched it once, and then my wife and I watched it. That's how funny it was. And that's just cool to see what the AIs decided to do. But yeah, I've also heard of like AI DMs or GMs. And, I guess that's going to be entirely dependent upon the technology, just because, being a GM, you have to be able to have a lot of different input. When I GM, I'm very reactive to what my players are doing. I don't tell them what to do or how to feel. I let them do whatever they want. And then, we play as the cards fall.
Could you set something like that up where you have a website that people could go and play this game just by themselves and the other characters could be AI? I mean, that's a way that this could totally go
Probably.
viral pretty
I
easily.
mean, if AI learns all of our rules and settings and it goes by them, then yeah, I don't see any issue with it.
Yeah, if it has like the internalized system to actually dedicate and understand the rule set, yeah, I mean, hypothetically, it should be doable.
And what's cool
Yeah.
about our game is you don't even have to have a GM. We have a different game mode where it is basically a battle between two players. So if you happen to be the designated GM and never a player, you can actually play something and just battle it out. We have like scenario, we call them skirmishes. So where it's kind of like Pokemon, you're battling each other, just in an arena or in some kind of different biome.
Yeah, whatever map is applied. Yeah, I have a lot of experience in wargaming, and so does Drew. And so we wanted to kind of, and I think there's a lot of crossover between things like tabletop and wargaming, or tabletop RPGs and wargaming. And so we wanted to facilitate modes of play where players can just jump in and have a battle. You don't have to have this grand epic adventure planned out. You can just say, hey, I'm gonna choose my chronic and my archivist loadout and fight my friend, or do like a tournament style round robin where we all just compete for the top place. So you can definitely do that with our rule set.
That's
Nice.
cool.
My Dumb Movie says it was Doug who made the videos you're talking about.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah, they were hilarious.
Mr. Bruh for £5 says Adam is a fucking doxer. Good heavens, how shameful! This is why S class. S class. Yeah.
I used JayMac's first name in the very beginning of the stream, so I'm a very, very, very bad boy.
Yeah, it's gonna get clipped now.
But he said he's going to use his real name on the actual game itself, so it's not.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's funny too, because now that JayMac has been used, I use it for so many different things. Like my Gmail account has JayMac on there, so I get called Jay sometimes by just people in the real world, and it's got to the point where it doesn't throw me off anymore. So
okay,
it throws me off.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah, either
I'm like,
was
who?
fine with me.
Who are you talking about?
It's kind of funny because my real name, I don't know what it is. It gets used so many times in people's bits or jokes. Like I've heard Oni Plays use my real name. EFAP has done it. Like they'll just say, the name and, continue with whatever bit they're doing. So it always kind of makes me laugh.
There you go. Look at that. The Curtisum 255 for 5 months says, sup, Jay, sup, Adam, sup, Sitch, sup, Drew. Figured I use this membership chat now since I probably got it from Jay. Anyways, still want to try the game. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. We actually had two people who have been in the community who play tested the game. It was Slongy and Stu. They have their own streaming channel. I think they stream like COD or Battlefield or something. It's a father and son, and so they actually were in Minneapolis and they played the game with us.
Cool.
At the convention,
Nice.
So they had a good time with it.
Sketch for 37 months says, good luck, JayMac.
Thank you, Sketch.
The Curtisum 255 for another 279 Canadian says, LOL, Adam. Adam Strange is also a DC comic hero.
True. Yes.
That is true.
Not Stephen Strange.
Liz and Des Walls for $2 says, have you considered supplemental books with recipes?
You know what? It's funny that Lives in Dead Walls said that, because that is a thing out there. I actually have bought the World of Warcraft cookbook, and I have a Final Fantasy 14 cookbook. So like that,
there's a World of Warcraft cookbook.
There is a World of Warcraft cookbook
filled with AI art. I'm certain of
it. No, it's like they actually have photos of the meals that the cooking profession makes in the game.
Right.
Same thing with the Final Fantasy 14 one. I've tried a few; they're pretty good.
Interesting. Okay, you can make your own delicious in dungeon cookbook. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be great.
Sees Paffy for $5 says, I've decided I'm going to make a tabletop RPG, and it's going to be 10 times better than JayMac's, and the BBEG will be a gay warlock named Mr. Strange.
Oh, nice.
Perfect. CS Paffy, as someone who celebrates the medium and the genre, I encourage you to make as many TTRPGs as your heart desires, and I will support and shout you out. Because I'm a class act.
Beautiful.
RPGs.
Yeah. Anything else?
Unless there's any other questions you guys had. No, I mean, we're just extremely happy you guys gave us the opportunity to come on and chat your ears off. You know,
When
I
what's
love.
what is your personal deadline for the having the game so that we can play it and launch a crowdfunder? You said
So
go ahead.
April of next year, when
Okay.
we go to DaveCon, we're gonna bundle it up with our crowdfunding launch. The PDF for the rule book should be done before that. I'm still working through our copy editor and finding someone to help us format into an actual readable book opposed to a Google Doc.
Right.
But that's the biggest hurdle right now. Once we get that process done, then we should be able to have all that converted over and ready for people's hands.
Yeah, you're probably not going to get it printed, right? Since people just need it to play. The PDF is
So
probably the end format of it.
we're going to do both. No, we are printing physical books. I'm
Oh, okay.
100% publishing it and getting it printed, because nothing, even if we don't sell anything, the fact
Mhm.
that I will have a physical book with mine and Drew's name on it is just like,
It's cool. It's cool as
yeah,
fuck.
Mhm.
exactly. And then it just gets to be something I have. So we're really, and plus I love physical media. I
Me
always have.
too. Yeah.
I don't, maybe it's because it's the grays in my goatee that just makes me love and long for days long past.
Yeah,
The
boomer.
the printing is so great now too, man. When I got those comics, I was just like, "Oh, these are
Oh,
fucking
and you open it up,
amazing." Yeah,
you
it's
smell the
just
fresh paper.
it's like, wow.
I love it.
Yeah, it is
The
very cool.
tactileness of the page.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day, back
Mhm.
in my day,
Back in the day.
when I would buy the original StarCraft and Warcraft, I would like looking through the little instruction booklet
little
to read all the
booklets,
little unit
yes.
I still
abilities
have
and
my
history.
Warcraft 3 booklet.
Nice.
It's up
Look
in my
at
office
that.
somewhere.
Look at that.
That's
all the
always
art and everything.
always amazing. So okay, now April 26th, right? As someone who missed every single deadline that I set for myself on the comic, now I have someone I can commiserate with in April of 26. We'll see if you can do it. It's tough.
Yeah.
There's everything is when you're creating anything, it's always just an uphill climb. I love all of these people on YouTube that just want to shoot slings and arrows at you the whole time as if it's so easy to produce
Oh
a
yeah.
comic book or a game. It's so easy. They could do it instantly. You just
Yeah.
got to get on Fiverr and hire an artist.
Yeah, it's just you wave your magic wand and it happens.
Yeah,
Life
exactly.
always gets in the way. Like
Oh,
you're,
it
you're like, oh
does.
yeah, we're going to do this month. We're going to get it to this key point right here, and then all of a sudden we're like, hey, I got sick for 2 weeks. I can't
Yeah.
even do anything. Can't even think straight.
And
Yeah.
just the unknowns, the things that you never really think about. You're like, oh yeah. I mean, I did a lot of stuff in Clip Studio Paint, and I just assumed that Clip Studio Paint would have the tools to move over to do the typographical stuff. Nah, I had to learn an entire new program. It's
Yeah.
like, well, and everything I'd done in Clip Studio Paint was just kind of a waste of time. So, and if I would have known that in the get go, I wouldn't have spent a lot of time doing it that way.
Yeah.
So,
And wasting time is one of the worst things, because it's just like all this work that you do, because it's still work. You're still doing something.
oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then it's just poof, it's gone.
You're like,
there was,
here you go, an extra 2 weeks I have to spend just laying out the book, relaying out the book.
There was a guy we talked to not last year before at a convention, and we asked, he had like 8 successful launches from Indiegogo or Kickstarter or something, and I asked him, I was like, what's a good point to start your crowdfunding? And he's like, 80%. It's like, once you're 80% done with your project, that's when you get it out there. And he said that's why that way you avoid the the issue of like the delayed promises or all that. So
Yeah,
We're at
that
like 75%.
I completely agree there. We started from 0%. I don't know if you remember, we were just trying to collect email addresses, and we weren't even going to launch until we got at least 500 email addresses. And that itself took 6-7 months. So there was also, because a lot of people on YouTube did crowdfunding campaigns during COVID, and COVID, I think obviously the government is sending people $2,000 that
yeah,
they
I
can
got
just
one.
yeah, that they can just blow on anything. So I think a lot of that COVID money went into these projects. I think Eric July did a crowdfunding campaign that was like $3 million.
That's ridiculous.
Obviously,
Crazy.
Ethan Van Sciver's done several $1 million, maybe a $2 million. I don't know if he's got up to $2 million, but he's definitely got multiple $1 million campaigns. Um, yeah, just a lot of people were doing campaigns that were huge. We launched kind of in the middle of that, but we didn't promote as much as those guys promoted. So I think that hurt us a little bit. And one of the reasons why it was difficult to promote when we were at zero, because I had thought we would hire some artists and it would be easy. It's just that's not how it went at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to throw any artists under the bus. I mean, I worked with a lot of different artists on this. Sammy G even did some stuff for me, which was amazing. I would have hired Sammy G to do the entire book, but she has a real job and stuff. So it was not really a possibility. So, but it just that is the reality of the situation. Good artwork takes fucking time. It takes time. And
Yeah.
you're either going to pay somebody who and that's the thing too, as soon as you pay an artist, like they don't want to spend a lot of time on your work. They'll spend weeks and weeks and weeks on their own work, but they don't want to spend a lot of time on your work. So they'll show you stuff in a portfolio that's just amazing, but then they'll turn in crap. They'll turn in pages that you're just like,
that.
this is garbage. I don't.
I've
I mean,
experienced
thank
that
you,
just
but
firsthand.
yeah. So I mean, it is an uphill climb to make anything, and I hats off to you for even venturing in those waters. But I think as creatives, we're kind of forced to do that, right? By some
Yeah.
invisible force.
Yeah, if I can get the art mostly done from, like I said, I've been working to improve every day. I'm doing stuff. So if I can get them to as close to what I want as possible, then at least I know that if I hand it off to an artist to kind of finish that last quarter mile on the stretch, that they're at least they know the direction I'm going on. At least they know what I'm looking for.
The artwork is super important to you, right? I mean, that's
Huge.
Yeah, me too. That's the same thing because obviously the story for the comic was more important. Well, the story is super important to me too, but the artwork is not important to Sitch at all. Like Sitch is like, just use stick figures. It'll be fine.
That's true.
Yeah. So it is kind of something you have to get over. There's a guy who was in Comicsgate for a while. I don't know if he's in Comicsgate anymore, but his name is Narwhal. I don't know if you've seen any of his work. His work is it's very animated, it's a style you can see, but it looks like it took 15 minutes to do a page. So I'm not sure. I do think people look at that and they think, oh, a child did this. This took no time at all. And there's something in their brain that's just like, no, I want something someone at least spent an hour on, right?
Yeah.
So there is a magic too, since I've done expressionist or have used expressionist techniques in my own work. There is something magical about being able to do something in just a few brushstrokes that you can see. You're like, oh my God, I can see it's only like 3 brushstrokes, but it looks amazing. People are willing to forgive you on that stuff. So, but not their forgiveness is not infinite. So,
well, there's a lot of room too for style. I mean, like some of the most, I guess you can say, like long-lasting games have very stylistic graphics or looks to it. So it's not always about how realistic you can make something, but how much personality something carries. I would be embarrassed to tell how long some of the drawings that I gave you today, how long it took me to do. But a lot of that's just because I don't know the program as well yet. But there is what I'm hoping to convey is a lot of that kind of character and personality, even though they are animalistic in nature. So, a bird, we are going for a more realistic style, but these are fantastical creatures. So I might not be able to show it smiling, but I'm hoping in its posture, in its body language, how I've drawn it moving or whatever can kind of help dictate the personality and draw people in.
Yeah, there is the art is a component to these role-playing games. It always has been. It's kind of a selling point for it.
There are books that when we first started, I went out and bought like 20 different RPG books, all from really popular to extremely amateurish. And half of the issues I have with a lot of them when I first opened up is just the art. And it's kind of funny because early D&D it wasn't that complicated. And I think since it's so ingrained in culture, it gets a pass because it is like kind of grandfathered in, but you can't really get away with that when you're just starting out, when you're a new IP.
Right.
You don't have the prestige that comes along with, stuff that Gary Gygax did, 40, 50 years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah. It is tough. I produce art habitually, I really do, but I'm always thinking I'm just wasting my time. And the more it's not necessarily like the older I get, the more it really is about just not spending a lot of time producing something that is going to end up in a landfill someday because it's just like
Yeah,
nobody
bad,
gives a fuck.
I don't
That-
throw my daughter's stuff away. I feel so bad. Like I keep everything she draws, and it's like, I've got like this huge bin full of just stuff that she's colored and drawn. It's like, oh my God, I'm not going to have any space for this anymore. But I feel bad throwing it away.
I mean, I've sold paintings to people for thousands of dollars that are literally dead now. Like they've overdosed on drugs, and who knows where those paintings are? Those paintings are probably already in a landfill somewhere.
Well, I already told my wife when we buy an Adam original, it's going above our bed. So
I know.
Look at that.
She's like, we got to work on something. We got to work on something that she'll actually like, though. That's the thing.
Micro Omega in the chat said, just practice 10,000 hours to achieve mastery. I was like, I know, I just gotta, just 10,000 hours.
No, I do. Look, I have my 10,000 hours in, and I do believe in the 10,000 hours thing. So
the more you do it, you do get better. That's 100%. Like it might not seem like it's going as quickly as you want it to, but like I said, I look at earlier sketches of these creatures, and after the second or third pass of doing it again, it's a lot better. So,
oh yeah.
But real quick before we take off to Sitch, I asked Adam which was his favorite. Which one was your favorite of the ones that we have on here?
Well, besides the mushroom dog,
Mm-hmm.
I like the little the ostrich looking guy.
Oh, Volcalcos, yeah, he's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I like him. Little volcano.
That's the one I have up.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got like a little hammer tail.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a little blacksmithing guy.
Oh, that's cool. I like that he has the volcano on his back.
We all
I like
should.
his little face. Yeah.
Obviously, if you saw our last Sunday stream, you've seen my volcano erupt.
Oh my gosh.
When Lindsay Ellis lies, my volcano
Yes.
goes crazy.
Yeah, you definitely
you
had a
go.
bit of Ravager in you there. Got
Couldn't
aggressive.
help myself.
Yeah.
I didn't use the C word, although I wanted to.
You felt it. You felt
It was
it.
funny.
Yeah.
At first, I thought you were joking, and then
No, I was fucking pissed. I was
I know.
pissed.
It was the point at which I knew you weren't. I was like, oh no, this is not a bit. He is very upset. Oh, it's good though. You should have been.
So many people in the comments were like, such a justified rage out.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
that's
man, it's annoying, People
it is annoying.
be honest.
That's the thing that's fun about the show is we really are kind of articulating other people's feelings. So
Mm-hmm. Well,
sometimes I just let it go.
Well, and if I don't agree with you, that's fine. We don't have to agree. We can debate the ideology. But when you try to push, and I think what happens is it's people who have this mindset where it's like, I can get away with it because I'm in the right. It's like that Vosh thing, there are no bad optics, just bad target. It's like, I can do this because obviously I'm taking the moral position. So cutting someone out of context doesn't matter because that person's bad anyways. It's so destructive to your own position.
Yeah, they do. They feel like they are the victim, so therefore the rules don't apply to them. Or there are no rules. They're allowed to play dirty because obviously they're in the right. So
well, that's why you got to maintain principles. You can't lose those even if it's easy.
Yeah, the
Always.
principle is Trump can lie as much as he wants, but I'm just kidding, obviously, because people were accusing me of that. They were like, "Oh my God, you don't get mad when Trump lies." Do you remember when we went to that article that was like the 10,000 lies of Donald Trump? And so many of the lies are they're really swinging. They're really
Sure, but he does lie a lot.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Look,
he does lie a lot, but when you come up with a 10,000, you're really stretching it for a lot of these lies.
Well, you got to get to 10,000.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So look, that if most of those if 5 of those lies are bangers that are terrible, right? The the elector
The
scheme and
bangers.
shit like that, right?
Right.
By putting them in with all of these others that are just nothing burgers, you're really diluting the power of those lies, and that's the problem. It's the boy that cried wolf. It's like, okay, this is a lie, this is a lie. As soon as you do that 25 times, you're like, the elector scheme, you're like, oh yeah, sure, whatever.
Well,
we had
whatever.
talked about it too, that it's more so like, because a content creator or a journalist is supposed to hold the liars to account, regardless of political side, whether it's Biden or Trump. We expect those people who are trying to like bring the quote unquote truth to us to be truthful. And
Right.
so when she deliberately did that cut, like I can 100%
Of course.
understand why it was triggering.
Of course. Anyways,
Cool.
Did you finally pin a chat, Sitch?
I did pin it to it. Yeah,
Sitch's
Zero
real
Fox.
name
Sitch's
is-
real name is Mario Jumpman Mario. There you go.
Look
Sitch
at
can jump
that.
pretty good. I've seen him jump, so he's got the
Mhm.
skills
Nice.
There, yeah.
to back the reels.
That's right. We
All right.
played some one-on-one b-ball, and
Outside of school?
I dunked on JayMac right in his
And keep
face.
up. It's all
Did
the
you
bulk. It
really?
keeps me too heavy.
Did you guys
Of-
play basketball? Holy
of
fucking
course.
shit.
Of course we
Holy
did.
shit.
At AnimeCon.
Yeah. They had like
You're
a basketball
lying.
court
You
there.
guys
and
I
lie
was
everyone-
worse
wearing a
than
dress,
Donald
Sitch,
Trump.
so
What do you mean? They have a basketball court at AnimeCon because everyone knows that anime fans are huge basketball players. So
they did have a pull-up bar.
There's an anime basketball show, so yeah.
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was in full cloud
I
getup.
don't believe
and I,
any of this. Just so you guys
I'm-
know, I think you're all liars.
I was in
don't-
full cloud getup.
This is
JayMac
Lindsay
was in
Ellis
full
level
Eris
lies.
makeup.
Every
makeup.
lie has a bit of truth, Adam. Okay.
We played some basketball in front of a crowd. Everyone was going crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty contentious, but I think everyone had a good time.
That's true. We did. We did.
Okay. All right. I guess we're wrapping it up here with that bullshit.
All right. Well, hey, thank you guys for having us on. I really do appreciate it. You guys are awesome, and always love talking to you, no matter what it is. So
Yeah. Let us know in the
Our
comments
pleasure.
below how badly you want to play this game. So
yes,
we
please,
can,
I'll read them.
we
'cause
can
I
kick
want the feedback.
JayMac's ass into actually meeting his deadline. Although the world is against him, I'm telling him. So. All right. I guess we'll end it there. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
Later.
All right. I clicked end stream. All right.
Cool.
This was great. A lot of fun.
Wonderful.